I'm
Rah!
angry about pets.
When did we all get this dumb? Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about pets.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef. Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, here again in the Freestyle Man Cave studio. It's the Why I'm Angry podcast. We are getting into a kind of special podcast here. I got some stuff pre-recorded. This is all pre-recorded. We've got some things that's going to be called the Furious 5 podcast. You're going to have about 5 or 6 different little spots. I'd say maybe 5 or 6 because I think 5 turns into 6 because one of the spots turns into another thing about things, and it just gets great. But we just wanted to go over a few things before we got to that. We've had some major news in Israel. Israel has been attacked. Obviously, if you're getting your news here, it's a little late, but I wanted to kind of go through maybe some of the significance of that because a lot of people are saying quite a few things. So, key events, the list of key events here for the Israel attacks in the fighting. The Israel military said dozens of fighter jets struck more than 200 targets overnight. On Saturday, Hamas fighters from the Gaza Strip rampaged through parts of southern Israel in the deadliest Palestinian attack in Israeli history. I've heard where some of the leaders said they wanted to punch through the wall, kill Israelis or Israelites, and the ones they didn't kill, they wanted to steal back, and were there to be able to torture and make them a ransom. Make some money off of them. In this, it says Hamas wanted to change, and it'll get one. What was in Gaza will no longer be. They started an offensive from the air later on. We will also come from the ground, and this is the defense minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, speaking to soldiers near the fence with Gaza. Israel has called up an unprecedented 300,000 reservists. What people don't realize sometimes here in the U.S. is that Israel makes you go to the military. 2 years in the military, everyone, women, men. There's not really anything else, but women and men go to the military, and from there they get military training for 2 years. They serve their country. Israel is a very, even if you're not, Jewish or Christian or whatever, Muslim or whatever, if you're an Israeli person, they're patriotic. Patriotic isn't just U.S. Patriotic is, you have a love or a fondness for your country, and because they have to be in the military for those 2 years, they learn why it's important to be part of your nation, be part of the the things that that people go through. And so you kind of they're 300,000 people. They're basically just telling people to grab helmets and guns and get out there and fight, or protect yourself. So I think people are saying, like, with Gaza is a fortified area, and it's going to be tougher. They're relating it a lot to Fallujah and fighting in the tunnels and things of that nature. At the same time, we were going to Fallujah to fight against people that we honestly probably didn't have a complete understanding, or when we were fighting bin Laden, obviously we had fighting to get bin Laden. Obviously we had a hatred or a dog in the fight. We wanted that revenge or whatever. But, when you get to this point, when we've gotten 8 or 10 years later, those people, honestly, about a half a generation's gone by, and we're already at the point of forgetting a lot about 9/11. And at that point, with what's gone on, like I said, we just didn't have a lot of vitriol against those people anymore. And so it was, it's hard to stay motivated. Well, you don't have that in Israel. Israel, they've been attacked. Their people have been hurt. They're in that. They know that region also, and so jumping into that region and fighting, they know how to fight in that region. That's their land, and so, I don't think I think things are gonna happen, and I don't think this is gonna be a fast war. So I think this is gonna be one of those deals where it's gonna take some time. Now, Israel is Israel. We joke about how Israel does not make idle threats, and they don't. They are there to fight, and it's real. So you're gonna see Israel attack with a force that's probably, people will say, oh, but Palestine did, there's such a, Israel being Israel. Yeah. So, I mean, and in this point, Jewish, anything, any other, whatever you want to say, Sadducees, Pharisees, the Jewish religious zealots, the, Israeli, control over the world, the Illuminati, anything you want to say about that. Palestine has stepped in it here. And, the Hamas, I guess it's Hamas over Palestine, or the different states that Iran. I mean, this is a sad point here also, because it comes to roost on us. Had we kept the funding out of Iran, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, more later, but had we kept the funding out of Iran, why do we still have our hands overseas? This is why we have our hands overseas. Because if we didn't continue to do trade embargoes, if we didn't continue to kind of rock the boat on the communist empires, then the communist empires gain the access to resources and the thought that we are not going to stop them. What's the best deterrent? And we've talked about this. I mean, in gun control and and crime, criminals don't care about laws. Because and that's why that's why we've said over and over again, you can't legislate crime. You make a rule, you make a law, and people follow that. Most people will follow that. And there are those people who will not. and those people will be punished. And so in this kind of thing, the thing that deters people most from doing crimes is that their lives or liberty will be taken away. And so you've gotten to the point where these countries like Iran, we've taken their liberties and things away in their lives, and because we have embargoed them to have no resources, and then we were like, but we've given them an inch, now they've taken a mile. And so now it's time to straighten it down. It's time to, we're going to probably end up having to fight, go over there and at least be some kind of peacekeeping force, security force, because there's 3 or 4 different, there's the troops in Syria, there is the group Hezbollah in Lebanon, and I'm looking for the group in Syria is the Houthis, something like that. And so we're going to end up having to be some kind of security against some of those guys. So it's just a tough state that, for one, part of this comes to roost on us because we've allowed Iran to build up their coffers. Part of it is that we've allowed Iran and China and Russia to really, become a axis of power, that, they can now, they now have the power to wield and build resources and do these things. And honestly, wouldn't it be, the inside conspiracy theorist in me says, if China doesn't want to get blown up on the big stage, and Russia doesn't want to, get a real war against them, well, then hand Iran about $6 billion. They're going to go hand it right over. They're not going to give it to their people. They're not going to, actually help their country out. They're just going to hand it right over to, Iranian sponsored terrorist groups like the ones we just mentioned, like Hamas and Hezbollah and all that. So it's a tough time, and we're definitely gonna get into it with the group, but we're not. This is going to be one that we're going to talk about extensively over the course of probably years. And honestly, on the Christian basis, this could be a sign of the times. It is definitely not a good sign of the times. It's a sign that we need to start consolidating as Christians to our bases. Where the way that we become the shining beacon on the hill is to consolidate to a spot where we can condense and send out that light, where we can defend each other. And as Christians, we need to start defending each other. We need to stop going after each church. And as much as I don't agree with the way that the message is distributed at certain mega churches, and the way that and it's maybe not as much the way the message is distributed, it's the lack of certain messages, we need to start banding together. We need to build this thing and become a body again. Instead, I feel like a lot of what we've become here is we look like two ships in a storm. And I say that because we're getting beat as Christians. We're all kind of on our own, but we're there together. There are two ships there in that storm, but each one of them is competing and competing against this storm individually. And you're looking over at the other ship going, why aren't you coming to save me? Why aren't you coming to help me? Why aren't you, and they're looking at you doing the same thing, because we're all going through this together. And instead of banding together and doubling our forces and being able to attack this storm or attack this fight together, we're just building animosity against each other. And I think that with that, that's going to be our downfall. If we don't look and see what's actually happening here, and start to build bridges and start to build, that community, there will be one community or two communities, and they will either be on opposite sides of things. But you think about it, when you've got two giant heads of things, and they're going to, you want to go and fight a common enemy, the two groups are going to lose a ton more following and resources and things like that, as opposed to being able to pull it together to one big group. You just lose way more of your of what you got, so your resources. And so unless we can somehow consolidate it all down to, we're going to be together, we're Christians. Obviously there are things in the community that we've talked about with the whole trans movement and different things like that we just, we do have differing, and there are some things that, we probably are going to, cut out as groups, and we're not going to agree at all. But I think there are some fundamental purposes, fundamental difference, or fundamental agreements that we have that we can all agree on. And I think that's what we're going to have to hold on to stay as a Christian group. So, find your people, band together with your people, get your people to band together with the greater good, and stick it out. Because this isn't going to be an easy fight, and this is, like I said a couple weeks ago, or even last week, that this next big war not going to be comfortable for us. So get yourself prepared, get yourself a little garden going, get yourself a little something that you enjoy, and make that stuff that you can enjoy in the hard times. So simplify, and let's go on. So, like I said, this is pre-recorded. This is kind of the best of the Why I'm Angry podcast, the Furious 5 podcast, and we're going to shoot you over to that. Remember to follow, like, and share. Get on Twitch and follow us. That's how you're going to see the whole podcast. Otherwise, you get about a half an hour or so on YouTube and Facebook, and you'll be able to listen to the whole podcast on Friday mornings at 5:30. We wanted to make sure we still got you a podcast. We want to keep it up and keep it going. We're super quickly, closing in on our 50th podcast. And like I say, it's only because of you guys out there helping us out. So we're gonna push it over to the Furious Five. Moggs, give us a little kind of background, what you've kind of researched. I know we started this research, well, it's almost a month ago now. AI, for those who don't know, is called, or stands for artificial intelligence. We've had movies about it for years, ever since computers were kind of invented. The wheels have turned that one day the machines will take over. Arnold Schwarzenegger's made millions and millions of dollars on just that product, making movies about the machines taking over. What have you found?
Well, it sounds like that AI has been with us for a while. It already does a lot of things for us. We've got face recognition now, software that does that. We've got the word processors that we have now, and they anticipate how we're going to finish the sentence. So artificial intelligence up until recently has all been where they've taken, I guess, hardware and software and studied the patterns of our behavior with speech recognition and the patterns and facial recognition. And out of those patterns have been able to predict repetitive types of things we do. And that's all been pretty innocent type of stuff, I think, at least from my perspective. But I think the real pivot point is where now artificial intelligence is collating huge amounts of information together, and algorithms now have been written to take that information and process it in such a manner, not only the patterns that it sees in that information, but it goes the next step to interpret that information and prioritize that information into concepts and ideas that it thinks that person may want.
Right.
So, and I don't understand this part of it, but apparently there's kind of a built-in process where it improves itself each time it does a search. It becomes more and more refined and more detailed, and auto-corrects, self-corrects itself. If it seeks a certain amount of topic or a certain topic, it's able to correct any searches that weren't beneficial or weren't helpful. So it's taken kind of a turn now where information gathering is not only just the organization of information, but now the analysis and predictability of what a person may be searching for. Like your example with the intro. You gave four ideas, and it searched probably some of your background, but maybe, I don't know if it does, your program did, but they're getting to the point now that it will search your philosophical background, your religious background, financial background, not only your language, but your typical expressions that you have, and then it'll write your intro based on a lot of other information than those four things that you just listed. And so that's the I think the recent thing that we see with with ChatGPT, that now that people are really coming to the fore because it's become so useful to them in terms of particularly preparing literature and articles and search material, that it's so fast. What did it take you? 30 seconds?
Right, like I was preparing, like I was setting up the mics. Yeah, it literally, I said something and then I typed it in and then we were done. Maybe 30 seconds to a minute, only because I'm slow at typing. I mean, yeah, it's been like I work in I'm doing a lot of internet marketing and things of that nature, and it's been a godsend, honestly. And like you just said, like writing these scripts, I mean, I put in like 6 words and then four keywords to rank for, and it said it like wrote out this beautiful thing about, and it sounds like me basically. It just makes me sound better.
Yeah. So there are certain prompts that it asks you. Is that right?
Right, it had
Yeah.
4 prompts. It was like what the topic of the video is, target audience, the keyword to rank. So you can put in up to 80 characters, and basically it will make sure that those characters are put into the podcast or into
Okay.
the script, and
Uh-huh.
then you want a tone. And so I put the tone of voice as energetic. But I've seen him say like put the tone in as Christopher Walken, and
Okay.
and
Yes.
it'll write you a Christopher Walken
Yeah.
style um, script.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they say that in that context that it's terrific because it avoids any errors. I mean, you don't have to worry about stumbling over your words that way.
Right.
It's the script is written for you, and if it's a late at night, you don't want to stay up at late night writing your intro. You can tell it. It'll do it while you're sleeping.
Right.
It'll 24/7. I mean, it's around all the time. So. Uh, I think for that kind of repetitive type of work, it really is like you said a godsend. They say that things like that, like healthcare and education and law, that kind of thing, finance, like to say in business, it's going to be huge in business because so much of business is repetitive and pretty predictable mathematically
Right.
in a lot of ways that those kinds of things for just data, searching data quickly and organizing it in a way that's easily comprehensible is going to be, huge. It's just, I mean, I saw an article not long ago that said that the AI can does just as well or does just as well as any person or better on the SATs because it has all the information. So whenever a question is
Right.
answered, it just answers it quickly. So those kinds of things, education tests, law, searching all the law, history of laws, and that I think it's going to really be a kind of a pivotal, or not a pivotal, but a fundamental asset to those professions, particularly.
Well, that's what I was even talking this weekend to my uncle. He does a lot of like day trading and things of that nature on the stock market for options, and he said he literally just got on, and then he typed in write me a code for a pricing chart for with stop gaps and you know with the acceptable loss and things of that nature and what those things were, and then it just like 30 seconds it had written a program for him,
Right?
and all
Yeah,
he had to do is just drop it in.
that's amazing. No,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know how to write code. Like I have never written code in my life, never taken even like a beginner's class. I literally just told it what I needed, and it did it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess it sounds like there's different levels of artificial intelligence. I mean, there's this level that's kind of basically uh, basic machine learning, where the machine learns your voice and it searches data, collates that, writes your programs for you, writes your script for you. But then there's kind of a step up where it kind of anticipates what you might want to do and presents information to you that you may not have generated on your own that it uses past information and data on the internet to put together. And I guess there's some controversy about that. If it uses other people's data for something that you're going to use, is that going to be any bridge of originality or
Right.
plagiarism? I guess it's a big problem in the art world, isn't it? I see a lot of artists.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that they're saying that the AI can do is create artwork for you. So you can tell it. I haven't had much luck with it yet, but like we have had a Central Park squirrel report, and so I asked it to put in a squirrel saying they want you like the Uncle Sam posters, and it didn't get me anything.
Okay.
Like it just came up with a bunch of weird squirrels that were like looked like they were shouting at me in other languages, and then a bunch of
Yeah.
gibberish on the screen. So
Yeah,
this
nothing but nuts, huh?
yeah, this program is not working quite as seamlessly as I've seen a few other ones.
Yeah.
But I have seen some where they're just like, make me an avatar of a Star Wars theme make me look like a Jedi. And they'll go
Yeah.
on and make an avatar of you that, looks fairly similar to you, and you become a Jedi. So, but
So I'd be appreciate. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no,
I was going to ask you what's your spin on college students or people using AI? That's a big controversial thing too, and presenting it as their own original work, like where it's graded or where you're presenting
well
information. How does that go? How's that play out?
I think it hurts us. I think we already are going down that way by, we've had spell check, and spell check is probably the most rudimentary AI that you can get.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at like kids these days, they're not teaching them cursive, which
Yeah.
you can argue is kind of a lost language, kind of like shorthand, or how to use a typewriter. But at the same point, they're now, spelling is becoming, once they get through 3rd or 4th grade spelling, when they don't have spelling class anymore, they're just no longer really continuing on in that. Even though they can read, they're not continuing on into language arts like spelling or vocabulary, because they don't have to. Because if they get on their phone and they're talking to someone, or they get on a computer and they send an email, which is also becoming a lost art, they can't, it just automatically pops up for them.
Yeah.
And then it gives you, like if you put in the word hard and you want it to be something different, you can put in all the synonyms of hard and all of the opposites, the antonyms of hard, and you can just it pops up, and you just, right now, I know with a lot of programs like Word and that, you just left click and it gives you all of the words that you could use instead of that word.
Yeah. Yeah. But is there any the thing that I guess bothers me the most in that sum is the loss of personal expression, the loss of personal participation in writing. Let's just say we're writing an English paper on King Lear or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the assignment. And if you have AI do it for you,
Right.
you don't even have to read the primary source. And by not writing it, you don't really have to think about what that play, the ideas in that play that we learn about values and ethics and the highs and lows of human experience. So to me, that's a huge loss if we uh, lose the opportunity of personal expression and we just become kind of fake people, fake students. They're not really a student, they're just a person who's copying what a computer tells them to do. That's worrisome to me, that part.
Well, what you just said is that the AI will turn us into robots. Will turn
Yeah.
us into these fake people that are just following along with we're just doing hitting the next click,
Yeah.
hit the next click, just hit the next click. So yeah, like what you just said, it is kind of the extended version of, we have spell check and vocabulary check, and now we have like Wordly, which will do like, or Grammarly, which will do grammar checks and stuff like that for you. And
Hmm.
then you get into, like you said, the AI, where it'll do all of the research. What gets me is, when they do when the AI does the research, who do you cite
Yeah.
for where you got the information? Are you going
Yeah.
to cite, is the AI going to tell you where it researched it all? Can the AI even tell you where it found the vast majority of the information? And if the AI is writing the information for you, then can is the creative license is gone, like you said. So there's, you can hit the button 2 or 3 times and it'll write you 2 or 3 different articles,
Right.
but at the same point, where the creative license is now in AI, which isn't creative because it's just writing whatever somebody says. The program
Yeah.
is
I,
written
I
by
think,
somebody in, when it comes down to the source of the information, it still comes from somebody.
yes. Yeah. I want to come back to that point you just made just a minute, but I want to take this thing of personal expression a little further because I read a thing on internet long ago that says that young people between 18 and 25 are having uh, troubles now with anxiety and depression and loss of self-esteem. And it seems to me that uh, uh, the idea of self-esteem uh, revolves a great deal around the idea of agency or a person's capacity to be able to do something.
Right.
If we have AI do our things for us, then I'm wondering what that's going to do to one's self-esteem. If it's like, if I want this, then I tell AI to do that. If I want this, then I do AI. But what value do I have as a person if my intellectual and emotional experiences are a derivative of artificial intelligence? And I really wonder what emotional and psychological impact that's going to have on future generations. We will become nothing more than artificial or fake people that just there's nothing inside anymore. It's just
Right.
our head or our heart. Now that's to me the biggest worry I think about artificial intelligence is that we in some ways lose our sense of who we are as human beings.
So
So yeah.
the debate, might as well work on that. So did any of you guys watch the debate?
I'm gonna be honest, I did not.
I heard
I did
I
Trump
not.
did a great job.
at at 8:30 I said to my wife, I said, "Crap, I missed it." And she goes, "What?" I said, The U.S. Open Cup started at 8. I said the debate starts at 9. She goes, well, you can turn the channel. I'm like, it's still not 9. So I put my kid to sleep and didn't watch anything last night. I feel more fulfilled in my life than having seen anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. I didn't see any point in turning it on because it's a bunch of people that are wanting book deals and cabinet positions, and there's one guy up there that potentially could be a contender, but other than that,
Right.
it's just a bunch of dunces.
And I think we kind of talked about it a little in the beginning about like, are we going to vote for the one who we think can really do something, or are we going to vote for the one who we think is willing to do what it takes to win?
Yeah.
Because I think the one has he runs, and DeSantis runs on a ticket of doing the right thing. And with him, with him doing the right thing, does that include stuffing ballot boxes, and does that include, getting the vote done? Because I know that Trump is going to do what it takes. He's going to stuff the ballot boxes. He's going to, go out and grab the old people from the old people's home and fill out the paperwork with them. And he's going to send those guys out there to do this. And he's going to, get the Cleveland, cemetery to vote. He's going to get out and he's going to get whatever it takes to get the votes that he needs done. There's no question in my mind that. What's that? Do I want that?
Do we want that? Because I
do
know
I
the
want-
other side's doing it, but
Do
is
I
that
want that over the puppet on the string?
Now, how do we know that it's a
Kinda.
puppet on a string?
Who was that?
How do we know it's a puppet on a string?
I mean, like you've seen the pictures with the wires coming out his shirt and stuff, right?
With
His ears.
Yeah, Biden. He's got like wires and stuff. He's like being held
okay,
up.
I thought you were referring to is the puppet.
No. I think he is probably the best person for the job.
Yeah,
He's not out of the legislative branch, and he's not trying to make new laws. He's a governor. He knows how to use the executive branch to do what he needs to do. He rallies great support. I think, honestly, he's probably the best person to do the job. I just don't know that he can get himself the votes. Like, I'm not sure that in general the Republican Party can get themselves the votes, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. They've been neutered.
I think
really,
yeah.
It's two parties. It's the establishment, which are the people that we're trying to do this to, and then there's the guys like Trump and DeSantis. I like the way DeSantis pushes back. I think that's all right in my book. But Trump pushes back too in his own way. So I like them both, but I think DeSantis we need to bring a little bit of credit back to government, and I think that's the guy that's going to do it.
I also kind of what we talked about. I also kind of think that the way they have treated Trump, he is ready to like just indict and take everyone down. I think the first time he tried to play nice, the first election, he tried to be presidential, tried to be in the mold of a regular president. And I think that after Biden just came in and has not been anything close to a historical president. Hysterical maybe, but not maybe historical. And
Oh yeah.
only historical in the fact that he's broken the mold of what a president should do. I mean, we've never indicted a president, and we had Nixon, and people who just Ulysses S. Grant, and just people embroiled in terrible choices in their lives, and instead we decided to just let them ride off into history, realizing that they're probably too old to really do anything else bad for the country. And instead we just we took we got all in our feelings, and decided to indict this guy when it was convenient for us.
It reminds me of what we were talking about last week, and in regards to the informed voter versus the voter that just knows the surface of it, right?
Right.
And how much that's going to affect this election. And it's kind of sad because we were talking about how if the Republicans can get it done or not, and who would be the best candidate for that, and it's sad because the person that we think is going to be the best candidate for it and the person that can get it done isn't necessarily the same person.
Correct.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate aspect of the whole thing is the presidential election. The credibility of it is definitely scorned or bruised now because of the last couple of elections.
So I saw a thing this week. I think it was yesterday before the debates. One of the talking heads that I listen to from time to time has a buy, sell, or hold type deal. And one of the questions that they got asked was, which would you rather take 4 more years of Biden and then 8 years of DeSantis, or 4 years of Trump and then 8 years of Gavin Newsom?
I would rather take, and this will never happen, but I would rather take 4 years of Trump and then 8 years of DeSantis, because
Right.
DeSantis was Trump's vice president pick. But he'll never do that, and that's a shame.
Yeah, the problem is if we get 4 more years of Trump, I think that like they said though, we'll get at least 4 more years of somebody else that's probably not conservative in the least bit.
Yeah.
So just so there was an Israeli tank that was stolen from a military zone, and authorities found it in a junkyard.
I have questions.
So I think what happened was this guy, he's hold my beer or whatever Israelis drink, and
Right.
his buddy, who could have been named Frank if he was in the U.S., was probably named David or something like that. Says okay, and the guy jumps over a fence, jumps into a tank, and drives off because he's had his 2 years of military experience. This could be a deterrent for making everyone take 2 years of military experience. Now everyone in the country has the ability to maybe be able to drive a military tank.
Well, maybe we don't teach them how to drive a tank within the first 2 years.
But then you would have 0 people or less people driving tanks.
Well,
I think that I kind of feel like this was a no balls moment. Like we're like, oh, you won't do it.
Right, I double dog dare you.
Yeah, like I triple dog dare you. Oh crap, I gotta go do it now. And then we briefly discussed this earlier, just real briefly. Like he got it, and then he's like, it reminds me of that Dane Cook, the little segment that he did.
I do not want to do a
B&E.
B&E.
And I immediately realized that I didn't want to do a B&E. I just wanted to kick a door down.
That's right.
I just wanted to steal a tank.
Yeah, definitely.
Prove that he could.
Yeah. So, basically, the tank disappeared from a training zone in Northern Ireland near the coast city of Haifa. The Israeli army said on Wednesday. So this is like super new, just happened.
It was the whiskey. It was the Irish whiskey. You said he did it in Ireland?
No. Northern Israel. Did I say
No,
Ireland?
you said Ireland. You did say
All right.
Ireland.
Well, it was Israel. Northern
Let's run this
Israel.
back. You did not. I was like,
Northern
wait a second,
Israel
it all
near
makes
the
more sense
coast.
now.
Yeah, I mean, if it was in Ireland, that would be the thing. He said, he said, Seamus, I'm stealing this tank, and no Israeli's gonna stop me.
Not this
But
time.
no, this was in Israel. Sorry.
I thought you said that. Then you said
it's
Ireland. I was like,
Yeah,
hey.
it was the training zone is closed to public when in use, but is otherwise accessible by passers-by. So basically, they weren't using it, and then it was abandoned in a scrapyard near a military base. A video from the scene: the Army green tank towers alongside of a bunch of metal scrap. The tank was decommissioned years ago, so it was unarmed. Yeah, it said it's
maybe
yeah.
that's what it was. Maybe that's why he abandoned it. He's
Probably
like, well,
it didn't have
there's not even
arms. He's
shell
like,
in
well,
here.
this isn't even worthwhile. I'm going to die for this. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean the pictures are pretty much like he just it looks like it was decommissioned and just sitting there. Yeah, pretty much. It's been in a training facility, so I'm sure like the best drivers are not driving it. It's like student drivers. It's got a student driver sticker on the back.
Right.
And
did they catch the guy that did it, or no?
It
They
doesn't say so far. They have two
lived
suspects
on
in
it?
connection with the that they arrested. So those guys are dead.
turns
Both of
out
them.
it wasn't either of them.
Probably not.
The
but
guy that was
either
like
way,
smart enough and dumb enough to steal a tank was
right.
like still out there.
He's
it
still
was
out
just like
there.
a drunken night or something, and
it's-
he's like,
It's like the guy
he's telling his
that's
buddies on the construction site the next day.
it's like the guy that broke out of the Philadelphia prison.
Right.
That was stayed like 12 days within 4 miles of the prison, and he's like, yeah, they could have pretty much reached out and touched me like 4 times. I was getting ready to go to Canada tomorrow. Likely story, man. Everyone was going to Canada tomorrow. Why were you anyway? Why were you going to Canada? It's hard to get into Canada. Like they like. I
There's
mean,
a lot of unprotected boundaries and to get to Canada. You just go.
I feel like that
go up to northern Michigan.
that is true. That is true. I
Mackinac
know of a group that that drove into Canada accidentally from Maine. So
Yeah, no, there's a lot of
on their way back in.
not a wall like
I
know.
know.
Now, if you try to cross like around the Great Lakes area and stuff, there's obviously bridges that you have to go, but there's not a wall if you want to hike in Canada.
At some time on this podcast, at some time, can we talk about how petty America and Canada was with the borderline up there? Because it's terrible.
You mean it's not straight?
It's not straight.
Are you talking how it just goes like?
And then there's
and then it goes like this, and then
there's only so many people who want to actually live in Canada.
And then there's this.
Let's be honest. Outside of like Ottawa, Ontario, like Quebec region,
in British Columbia,
BC. Yeah, I was gonna say BC. Maybe Newfoundland. A few of the areas.
Calgary.
The majority of Canada is relatively unpopulated.
Yeah, it's all down by Toronto, but like up in Minnesota.
Well, BC is west. It's not by Toronto.
Well, I mean, anywhere that anyone actually wants to live. I mean, you visit BC, you live in Toronto.
Look up. I just found it. Look up Angle Inlet, because there's this country. There's this town in America that you have to drive through Canada to get to.
Alaska?
No,
Oh,
no,
you
no,
said
no, no, no. Town. There's a town called Angle Inlet, and you have to literally drive. This is how petty it is. This is how petty America and Canada was when they were deciding the boundaries. So if you have to drive into, you have, it's on the north side of Minnesota.
Oh yeah, these people did not want to become part of Canada.
That's petty, and I'm quite frankly, I'm
It's
tired.
literally right next to Jim's
I'm tired
Corner.
of it. They should rezone everything. We should redo all of the borders up there. No, I have a lot of friends in Ontario specifically, and some in like around the Ottawa area.
When you could take a boat to Angle Inlet.
Yeah. Well, you could take a boat to Canada from where I'm at too. But they'll find you on the banks. That's for sure.
Not if you run fast. The Cubans have been doing it for years.
The Mounties are still mounted, right?
The Mounties are still mounted. Yes, so let's not go there, Super Troopers.
All right.
No, there is a lot. Now, if you're hiking and stuff, I'm sure you could make it through if you want to fight a moose or two.
I don't.
But
I do.
but no, yeah, I don't know how we get on this Canadian. Oh, because he was headed to Canada. That's right.
Yeah, he was headed. The guy from that robbed broke out of
I would
prison.
have liked to see. I would have liked to see what his plans were to get into Canada from Philly or not Philly, but Pennsylvania, wherever he was at in Pennsylvania. I don't remember the city. Because he's got to go. He's either swimming or he's got to go one way or the other. He's probably headed towards Buffalo, but how are you going to get in to like through the Buffalo border? You know.
Jay, you got an article that'll raise our spirits.
Absolutely, I do. There is cricket flavored ice cream in Germany. It's all the buzz.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
I know how you folks are out there on the internet land. Like, you love your cricket flavored ice cream. So I'm just here to tell you, why don't you just hop on over to the old Germany and pick you up some. No, in more serious news, there's an article about illegal rabbit poaching.
Rabbits.
Now, this story comes out of Portland, Maine. A federal judge has sentenced a Massachusetts man to probation for running an illegal trapping operation where he was capturing wild hares in Maine for the purpose of training dogs.
So rabbits, not like just random people's hair.
Not like follicles from your head, no.
Okay.
This 36-year-old man from Attleboro solicited Maine residents to trap snowshoe hares. So that made everyone upset because he didn't have a license.
Oh, so the government wasn't getting their paycheck.
That's what it was.
They were just upset because they didn't get theirs.
Grr. I mean, they tag here in Miami County. They tax us on our rainwater. You have to have a permit to collect rainwater off your own property.
Do they really?
So yeah,
that's awesome.
So
I did not know that. I've been talking about like getting a rainwater catcher and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So because we have a well, so it would take a little off of our intake and stuff like that. Just help me water the garden, the yard, and stuff like that.
And they've never refused anyone who's come to apply for a rainwater permit, but just the fact that you have to have one,
right?
I mean, I feel like that's just wrong.
I mean,
it's not like they're out there cracking down with the rangers are coming by. You got a permit? I mean, they might, but like I don't know. I've been fishing on a fishing license for years, and I've never had a ranger stop me. But maybe my time's up. Maybe this season will be it.
Well,
I don't know.
I have, But that's because I lived on Lake St. Mary's and stuff like that, and there's a lot of people who try to fish without fishing license, so they have a warden around that area that's checking things out.
Sure.
So, and my stepdad almost got his guns taken away for loading his shotgun after sunset when he was hunting a deer. He had shot a deer. Yeah, he had shot a deer. He was tracking it, and he was coming across a pathway, loaded 2 more shells in as he was going down towards the creek, because he thought the deer basically had gone down to the creek to die or whatever, and he was just going to put it out humanely. And the warden walked up and told him that he was getting a ticket, and it was literally just for that because he loaded it after he was still hunting after daylight or after sunset. And so he was so mad he just like left it there.
Wow.
He's like, you can go get it, and he's like, no, I don't even care anymore. He's like basically what you're gonna, the $150 fine is what it's gonna cost to process the deer, so I'm just done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
He's like, if you're gonna take the ticket away, we can walk down there together and get it. He's like, nope. So they both got in their vehicle and drove away.
Drove off. Wow.
They left a deer die.
That's a stalemate and a half.
Yeah, that's just when the government says, I'm here to help. Here's take your ticket.
Yep.
Then
nose.
There's the issue.
Nose goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you have another one out of Maine? So in other Florida Man news, Florida Man wins a women's poker tournament, sparking debate about men in women's sports.
It's me. I'll just sit down right here.
Don't mind the beard. I've got a giant wig on. Yeah. So, I mean, like, were they not allowed to like hold him out? Or, I mean, all right, let's read into it. Dave Hughes, 70-year-old man, entered a $250 no-limit Texas Hold'em event with a prize pool.
Go.
Yeah, up to $17,450. Dude made some money. Of the 83 competitors to enter the tournament, 82 of them were women. The last one was Hughes. Hughes ended up defeating Diana Sabatin. I probably killed that. Batten. Or Chow Batten. I don't know. Depends on if she's Italian or not. At the end, to take home $5,555, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Hughes was allowed to enter the women's tournament as Florida casinos are prohibited from banning men from entering women's tournaments.
Oh, there's the loophole.
Oh. According to anti-discrimination laws. The newspaper noted that Nevada casinos have a similar rule. All right, guys, this is your chance to win a women's sport. All of you little maybe husky guys that probably couldn't win a women's sport anyways, and if you did, it wouldn't have mattered. Here's your chance.
This is it, guys.
Can you be smarter? Can you take out women in poker? Oh, the World Series Poker Ladies event has a $10,000 buy-in tournament, and women receive a 90% discount in hope of keeping men out. So they only have to put in $9,000. Oh, a 90% discount, so they only have to put in $1,000.
What?
Huh? All right. For $10,000, I'll enter. Do I get 10 spots?
Right. I better get some buy-ins.
All right. So you could actually, I mean, this is developing. This picture of this guy is amazing. It is so great. It is a man with a giant white beard. He looks like Santa. This is why they let him in it. He's Santa.
Because of Christmas magic.
Yep, pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They, you know, Ebony Kenny from the Poker Purposeful Pleasure posted that playing the women's poker tournament ladies event today, and Dave here is the only man. While we appreciate the dead money, guess the joke's on you. I really wish men would get what these events stand for. So I put a $300 bounty on his head, and Tamara and Noah matched it. Let's get him. Well, you guys lost your money. Good job.
Yep, that's circling the drain.
That was awesome.
Good job, team.
Right? Right? Oh, so good. The trans issue is a lot easier to handle in poker as the stakes are relatively low. The difference between male and female players is negligible enough that the incentive for men to join women's spaces isn't really there. So there is a difference between women and men, though, because right here it says that the difference between women and men players is negligible. Enough. So there is some difference, smart. Right? There is some difference.
There is some difference, apparently.
There is a difference. They are now proving there is a difference between women and men. Oh.
Well, that goes against that's counterculture. That's
counter to the counterculture.
That's that's indicating that there's only two genders.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't say, it doesn't, like, I don't even think he walked in and said, I feel like, I just feel like I'm a woman today, and just walked on in. He pretty much just put down the money, and just played some poker with some women.
That's great. That's the best story I've heard all week.
Right? Like this one, I'm not even sure who's. I guess this is the Fox News guy. It says it's a real issue that people are taking advantage of in many different areas, including sports, prisons, changing areas. This has led to some horrific repercussions. Female inmates being raped in prison, or women getting destroyed in MMA fights by someone who spent 95% of their life as a man. It does suck that it comes at the expense of women-only spaces. I wouldn't do it, even though I probably share the same criticisms. Female-only spaces in poker are really needed. Mixed poker can often be absolutely horrendous environments for women to be a part of.
It's part of the game.
Why? Like, because they can't deal with the pressure of a man, betting them up, or because there is actually some sort of like male, I mean, I don't understand. Like, it's cool if you use your sexuality, but like a man standing there, making big bets, or is he like actually saying something that should get him kicked out of an event? I mean,
right.
If it's a sexual harassment deal, that's covered under sexual harassment policies and harassment policies, so that should be legally be able to be adjudicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do something about that. Make it a more friendly environment, but don't be like well, if it were a woman's only event, like if you see women fighting in MMA, women fighting is like personal. It is like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like, I mean, at the end of a man's fight, if they had a good fight and there was no like major, like really, something dirty, I mean, the guy could kick the other guy on the balls and he would be like,
Right.
man, that was a great fight. Didn't see it coming when you hit me in the balls. You really crashed my junk. And they'd handshake, and they'd go have a beer at the end of it with their millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands or $25.
Yeah.
That they won in the fight.
Yeah.
But
I watch it all the time.
Yeah, women take it super seriously. Like when I was in martial arts and stuff like that, it was nothing for like a woman to continue fighting after the whistle or after they rung the bell for the round and stuff, and just take some cheap shots, and it just like, to me, like, yeah, that, that's more of, but I mean, I do understand, you fight a man or fight a person who's decided to identify as a woman, and now they're just, their muscle mass is 95% higher or whatever percent that men have over women in muscle
Mhm.
mass because of physiology that we normally take in high school. And he's out there just crushing some woman because he can't win in the men's game. I mean, there is 100%. We've had this conversation already. There's 100% a difference between what women can do and what men can do physically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I 100% applaud. There are some women who can compete on the men level. And so those women, and that's why I've always said, if a woman can do what a man can do, let her compete
Hmm.
on that stage.
Yeah.
But you've got guys out there who can't compete on that stage, and they're basically stepping down a stage. Nothing against women, but it's physiology, and they are now He-Man in the lower levels. Well, just step down a stage. I mean, just don't try to
Right.
compete at the highest level, or just
Right.
hand in your man card and stop competing altogether.
All right. There you go.
I mean, do what a real man would do, and hang up the boots or the shoes or the gloves or and walk away. Be like the rest of us. Play video games. Pretend you're
There
the
you
best.
go. There you go.
Do something that makes you feel special. And
Yeah.
if that's that shouldn't be being able to beat a woman in a sport that you were not good enough to compete against your own kind in.
Right.
So just my
Yeah.
thoughts. Otherwise, Santa Claus wins the women's poker tour
That's it.
event at
That's it right there.
in Florida. Has about $900 bounties on his head that people lost because they couldn't beat him. Won himself a cool $5,555 on a $250 no limits entry. I mean,
The
it's
magic
a good
of
day.
Christmas is alive in May.
It's a good day. Oh man. So that's the podcast, everybody. Thank you for getting in and listening. Thanks for checking us out. Get on our website at whyimangry.com. Hit the listen button. Get our merch. Support us. Keep us in here. We're here for you guys. If it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. So keep supporting, and we'll keep bringing out great content like this. And hopefully we won't have to do as many of these highlight reels, as we'll just keep creating great highlights. So get on there, get some merch, get the follow, like, and share buttons hit, and remember, it's the Why I'm Angry podcast. Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.